Hi team, so I wanted to go ahead and send out this video. I'm hoping that it will be quick, but I apologize in advance if it's a little lengthy. I'll try my best not to ramble here. But as I mentioned on the Marco Polo, the whole purpose really is to kind of share some of these things that I was planning to share during our time together tomorrow so that we can be, more focused really on just connecting as a team. And so I don't know about you, but I know since we got back from the Christmas break, it's like we just hit the ground running, and it's been really, really busy, particularly, with some of the adjustments that we've had to talk through as it relates to the history piece, the IEW piece, and then with me just gearing up for admissions and all that has come with that. And so, again, I just wanted to take the time to really use the 45 minutes that we have to really connect. And so, I am just going to run through these things as quickly as I can. I really just, again, wanted to use this platform to share the information and then have you follow up with me directly for any questions that you may have. If it's something that you really want to see me address during our time tomorrow, please send me an email during the day. And at the end of our time together, I'll make sure I take some time at the end to have a little Q&A if folks feel like they need that. But real quick here, I will start with the purchase request form. I know Diane sent out an email kind of spelling out our new process for purchasing materials. We're really trying to streamline things. And so, just as a reminder, because she mentioned this in the email, please be sure to copy that form before you fill it in and send it back to her. And if you can, just kind of go ahead and think through what you may need for the rest of at least a quarter, but if at all possible, the semester, and go ahead and get that information to her as soon as possible. And so, again, this is a new direction that we're going in. Any supplies, you can please still come to me for those things. And I know I had originally asked for everyone to kind of submit their requests, even making it easy where you can just jot it on a sticky note. And I'm kind of still getting requests here and there. But if you could please take this week to just take a look at your inventory, what you have and what you may need, and go ahead and get that information to me, because I'm going to make like one more little purchase before the quarter ends for sure. And so I wanted to put that on your radar. I also wanted to just mention, I know Diane had asked everyone to let her know if you had finished your Singapore A book, if you hadn't, exactly when you were planning to do that. And so she has gathered all of that data across the different campuses, and we are planning to have like one day to take up books. And so Diane is working to confirm a date based on when the last person will be finishing up their Singapore A book. And that's just going to be real simple. We'll let you know in advance. You reach out to your parents and let them know that they need to make sure their students pack that book on that particular day to turn it in. And then it's just going to be a matter of having your students put the books in a box. We're going to take them up, and we'll have a little team that will assess the condition of the books and take it on through that process. And so, again, that date is coming soon. And I really appreciate for those of you who are finished and have been wondering about when we're going to take up books. I appreciate your patience. And so just know that it's coming soon. I also want to let everyone know that Allison and I updated the class reach guidelines. And so if you remember, at the beginning of the school year, we shared guidelines in terms of what we wanted to make sure every teacher was doing to be consistent in those lesson plans across the board. And you all have just done a phenomenal job with your plans. I know the site administrators and Carl, we actually, split up reviewing those from week to week. And so keep up the good work there. But I do want to share this updated list of guidelines. And again, the whole purpose is to just keep getting better, keep getting more consistent as a team. And so I pray that nobody feels like it's a lot, but if you could just be mindful of the stage that we're in as a school, and how, we're, all of us are learning and we're figuring out things, and we're trying to, maximize our time well, but we're always constantly having to prioritize rather, just based on what needs to be addressed at the moment, and just trying to get better. And so I'm very excited about some of the things that we have already started discussing for next year. But again, we will continue in this manner for a while, in terms of just needing to tweak as we go along. Please know that we understand, we don't want to overwhelm people and have so many changes and adjustments coming at once. And so being mindful of that, but still, we're going to have some of that for, I would think, for some time to come. And so I said all of that to say, I am going to share the updated guidelines. The biggest thing is just being consistent on where we are putting those handouts, especially for those of you who are making videos and sharing videos, those math videos with your families. We need to really just streamline how everyone is storing that information. And so you'll see on your guidelines some specific information regarding uploading handouts. And so, except for math, we want all teachers to put the classroom handouts in the homeroom section. And most of you are doing this, but again, this is something that we just need to tighten up and be consistent across the board. And so put it in the homeroom section and label it by the week and date. And I guess I would need to confirm like what next week would be. So when you get ready to do your lesson plans for next week, this would be when everyone would need to start. And so I'll confirm the week, and then you'll put the date. And so it'll be very easy for parents, if they need to go back and find something, to go back to that particular week. And I also make it easy for you moving forward next year with your planning, and being able to go back and pull those different resources. I know for the most part you still have those stored somewhere else, but it may be something where it's just easier to go back into your handout sections as well, or refer your parents back. And so that really is the biggest piece. And so I would share this document. If you all could please pull it out, take a look at it as you're doing your lesson plans for next week, and make sure the things that we have spelled out here really is reflected in your lesson plans. A couple more things here. Safety. So I know we really need to tighten up on safety in terms of the front doors. I know you all have noticed sometimes, we'll leave a little crack, particularly when classes start going outside for lunch and resource, where we don't have to keep getting up, letting you all in. And unfortunately, Summit was only able to provide a handful of fobs for us. And so it's just not realistic that, everybody can get a fob. And so I said that to say, so we want to start making sure that the front doors remain closed at all times. And so for the extra fob that we do have, I'm going to have it at Jen's desk each day, and probably, put it in a little basket where if you're going outside, particularly since, you know, the grades are going outside at the same time, you can use, somebody can pick up the fob, and you can use the fob um, when you go out in terms of trying to get back in, and then you would just drop it back off at the front desk. And so we're going to try this system out and see if this will help us to just do better with keeping those doors closed. And I'm also going to ask the gentleman that came and walked through with me, sharing information about how we should do our fire drills and the different routes, which we need to start practicing other routes to get out of the building. They also do like a safety training where they'll come back and say, for example, if there's an active shooter, God forbid, some other emergency, they will walk us through what we need to do to lock our school down. But we really want to just, you know, start thinking about and taking the proper measures to be better in that area. And so the other piece of that is your students when you're in the classroom with them. So if you ever need to leave the class for anything, if you could please just walkie, admin, and someone will come back there to watch over your students. So if you have to run to the bathroom, if you need to run and get a copy, if you don't want us to make that copy for you, we need to know whenever you are leaving the classroom, because the truth of the matter is anything can happen. Anything can happen in there with children, and as adults, we need to have our eyes on them at all times and be able to give an account if something happens. And so that's another thing, even in terms of coming out of the morning meeting, just quickly getting back to your room and standing at that door and greeting your students. And so we don't have they don't have a chance to get in the classroom before you get there and an emergency occurs, something happens. And so this is all a part of this safety plan that I've been thinking through, and that we will, you know, build out as a team moving forward. Let's see. The only other, well, 3 more things. It's 12 minutes. Let me make this quick. But this is going to give us more time at our meeting. So I will also mention this. So uniforms. So you all have been on the announcements to the parents about the importance of making sure students are in uniform, particularly with their outside jackets, making sure that if it's anything that they keep on when they're in the building, that it has our HLA logo on it. And so we are asking you all as the teachers to kind of monitor your students when they come in the classroom. And we're not trying to, you know, be the police, but we are trying to implement and enforce this uniform policy that has been put in place. And so we're asking you all, if you see your student and they're out of uniform, to just send a quick email to the parent. And then if they continue to do it, then at that point, you know, just turn it over to me, and then I will follow up with the parent. But again, making sure that they're in uniform, making sure they have the logo on their jacket is very important moving forward. Late work policy. And so we have a late work policy. Carl cleaned this up a little bit because, of course, with us not grading satellite work this year, it's a little different. And so I wanted to just put that back on everyone's radar, that if you, and remember, you have to highlight on the agenda if something is going to be graded. But if your student does not bring that work back, there is a process in place in terms of how you should be taken off. So for example, I think it's 10% if that assignment is not turned in within a week of the due date if it's late. And then if it's a major assignment, it will result in 60% of the maximum grade when submitted. And so there is a whole document about our grading policy and our late work policy. And so if we can just, this is another area we just need to be consistent on how we are taking off for late work. That will be good. And so I saved the big thing for last. But before I move to that, real quick, just a reminder for those of you who have cleaned off your carts, I greatly appreciate it. I need to clean off my cart that I have at the front table, as well as I need to take some time and get in there and really organize the shelf in the closet better. And so it's nothing but the grace of God that Summit is even allowing us to use the closet, because the original plan was for us to have to store everything on the trailer. And so they have been gracious. But it's really important that we tidy the closet up and really make sure that our carts are neat, as well as we're going to have to try to condense the boxes some, so we don't have so many kind of stacked all up. And again, it's just the reality of where we are at year 3. Yeah, this is year 3. And trusting God for our very own building. But for now, just being sensitive to that and making sure that the closet is presentable, because they're in and out of that closet when they are there. And so I have seen student projects stuffed in there, just extra stuff that nobody is using. And especially if it's not being used and you still want it, it needs to be put on the trailer. And so I'm going to be pulling some stuff out, asking you all to look at it and identify whether or not it's yours, and trying to see about how we can condense those boxes. But we do have some storage on the trailer, just a little bit, that I'm trying to maneuver so that we can have enough space to be able to start storing the books that we're going to start taking up, the math books. And so that's the whole cart and storage piece. And last but not least, our the copies that we are making every week. And so those toner cartridges are very, very expensive. And just because of the size of our team, we're really going to have to tighten up on the number of copies that are being made. I'm also mindful that, I'm making copies for the interest meetings. I'm making copies for, our parent trainings that we have each month. And so because we kind of really are the hub for all the other events, it's even more important that we are really good stewards over the paper and the toner. And I am finding that it's a lot of copies still being made, I guess, just in error. And so one thing that I think would help with this is, if you need to make a copy, just come to the resource room and make your copy. Someone mentioned before that if they have sent something through, like, it disrupts it if somebody else sends something through, and then they have to start over or something. And so I think to just streamline things, if you could please just come into the resource room when you need to make a copy and make sure that your settings are correct and we're not wasting paper. But the other piece is, we really have to ask ourselves, is this something that parents can print at home? And so big packets that we're copying and sending home, like, is this something that can be uploaded as an attachment in ClassReach, with parents having the option of printing it if they have something that they need to turn back in, or just reviewing it and writing on their own personal paper. And so I think that's a good rule of thumb. And so outside of the curriculum, I know you all do a great job with these additional resources, but those type things, we really should provide those to families in electronic formats. And so as much as you can, please just kind of filter through before you make any copies and see if this is something that we can ask the parents at home to copy. And it really should be only those things that are relevant to the curriculum, to the lesson that we're doing, and not necessarily all the additional resources that we provide for our families, because you all are just the bum like that. And so that really is the biggest piece, because it's costing a lot of money to replace the toners as often as we are replacing them, as well as the paper that we are using up. And a lot of it really is, seems like it's in excess, because I'm taking piles and just tucking them away at the end of the day, hoping that we could use it for scrap paper at some point. But if you all could please be mindful of that. I am going to put a little log at the printer so that we can start logging in and really start tracking and getting a better handle on how much we're printing each month. And the only way we can do that is that everybody's diligent about logging what you're printing and how much that you're doing. And so that was the biggest piece that I will be putting into effect immediately. And we may actually just need to, that room is so small, like, and I feel like the stuff that's in there, the extra stuff is kind of cluttered. I may just bring it all out into a central location where we can spread out more and not so have that little bit of space. So I'm going to think through all of that. But thank you. This is 20 minutes, but it's 20 minutes that I hope you can listen to at your leisure, so that we don't have to use this time during our time tomorrow. So I'm very thankful for each of you, and I'm looking forward to a great day and weeks ahead as we end this semester stronger than ever. All right, blessings, sweet sleep, bye-bye.